There you go. Nice and easy. You were looking for something easy. Oh, I'm got an echo, which means that I'm coming through the
He acts as a
YouTube.
physical two-factor authentication device for hundreds of services like Gmail, YouTube, Twitter, Dropbox, password
I'm
and
trying. I've got to get all the way down, and it still comes on. Yes.
Yeah, that's why we were coming through the. That would be
Right.
we were coming through the. Ready forever going to be.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? Yanez here with Island Metal Forge. Let me jump into the chat and say hello to people right quick. What's up, Stephen Parsons? In first. Trail Dust is actually a guest with us today. How you doing? Jack Pines, good morning. I am sorry I missed your show yesterday. I was at work on a job site. Mick Chu, what's up? Speargrass, Paul Orchard, have I got words for you, buddy? Bortagov. And that's it. Good morning, the five of you. Hello, lurkers, and hello to everybody who pops in. Got an interesting and fun show today. But before we get into the show, let's pop into how's y'all's week's been doing? Let's go with Alex. How's your week?
Oh, well, it was fairly tame, I guess. I only worked 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, and then the boss was like, "Well, we don't really have anything until maybe Thursday if you want to go home." And I was like, "Well, no, not really. I mean, I'm going home in a couple weeks. There's not much point in spending $100 for that." And yeah, I still haven't worked since then. So, and now apparently we're not going to have much until maybe Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So, woo, boy, it's going to be a rough one. But yeah, so I didn't do a whole lot. I did, however, decide that I was going to get out in the forge and build a project. Some of you may or may not have seen. Well, I guess everyone has or has not seen it. So you can only fall into one or two categories there. So I did spend 8 hours out in the forge the other day, just fighting with a piece of steel that was basically too big for the what I had to work with on tool wise and workspace wise, and but it doesn't matter. I got it done anyways, and I thought to myself that night, I was like, man, no, I really feel good. I mean, it really did. I mean, messed up my mic there. It really felt good to get out and build something. I mean, I had so much fun doing it. I mean, like I drank so many bottles of water. It's not even funny because it was humid and just well, I wouldn't say miserable because it was only in the 80s, but well, at least outside of the carport area. I mean, standing in front of a blazing coal and coke fire, it was considerably warmer. But no, but at the end of the evening, man, I felt really good. It really felt it felt like I accomplished something, even though I mean, like even though what I accomplished was building a turd sir, it served its intended purpose. And the way I look at it was a proof of concept. You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, I was like, man, that was freaking amazing. I am getting up in the morning and I'm going to make up a couple billets of cable Damascus. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but it's something that's fun to do. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to make up a couple billets of cable in the morning. That'll be all right. And then I woke up yesterday morning and I was so sore I could barely move. And I was like, nope, I am not doing anything today. And I didn't. I sat around and I played my games all day, did a little bit of reading, and that's it. How about you there, Adam? How was your week?
My week was flat out. So hang on. No, I of course, as people know, the other weekend I released Volume 1 of Practical Blacksmithing Annotated. And shout out to Stefan Mirke for purchasing the first ever paperback copy, the first ever hard copy of Practical Blacksmithing Annotated. That's annotated by me. And apparently it arrived yesterday or today, where he's at, and sent me a photo from Instagram, and so that was rather cool. So I this week I've started editing and annotating Volume 2, and just looking at getting things set up so I can start recording the audiobook. But I also yesterday I was invited to go and give a demonstration and a talk on blacksmithing at Charles Darwin University. So as part of Australia, every year we have Science Week here in Australia. And so as part of Science Week, I was invited to Charles Darwin University to give a demonstration and talk on the science of blacksmithing and the history and a little bit of talk on basic metallurgy, and stuff like that. So, I'm no expert, but it was exciting to have that opportunity to actually talk to learned peoples.
Fun.
That's pretty much
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, my week. Woo-hoo! Busy, and I know I say it a lot, but yeah, another busy week. So work-wise, in a nutshell, we got one of the general contractors that we do work for, these new construction jobs. He's building literally two houses side by side, neighbors. And we got the bid for one of them, and we were over there doing our first stage, putting boxes, planning our runs, and all that fun stuff. And we're there working, and out of nowhere, the general contractor comes over with some guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, y'all, this is the electrician for the house next door. He can't do this job because his entire crew's got COVID. Can you guys step up?" And Jay, happened to be there. He's like, "Yeah, we'll go." He went over and took a look, and well, we got the job. So, but that one is actually a rush job, needs to be done before the 1 week started. So shift gears, jump over there. That we worked on that job every day except for Thursday, which I was on a different job. That was my birthday, and thank you, Paul, for wishing me happy birthday. And I was even there working Saturday till about like 2:30 or so. So a good half day there. Just breakneck pace, trying to boost this job along and get it done because it's so far behind schedule. And it's just drilling, stairs, pulling wire, more stairs, more drilling holes, more slamming boxes up, more stairs, stairs some more. Yeah. New construction life. But did all that, and yeah, also had time to record and edit my first edited video in, I'd have to go back to the records, a year or more, 2 years. And I got like 60 views on it. Yay! Or something like that. It was a video on the Forge Around the World book update. And I did want to address a little bit of it and go into a little bit more one-on-one detail with some of you guys about not one-on-one detail, but like more specifics of the nature and idea behind the project, because I've gotten almost every time I release a video or put a post up about that, I get the same request or same question, or everybody, the same idea comes up, and that is, and I'm not calling anybody out because I feel bad about saying it like this, but What's up, Neil? Shane, how you doing? The idea of the book is, or the idea that always comes up with the book is, hey, can send me a plate or send me the dimensions of the plate, and I'll get it stamped and stamp some people around me, and then send it back to you to add to the book. There are a couple of issues with that, and one big one is, well, then I'll end up with a dozen pages with just a handful of stamps on it, touch marks on it, and that's not exactly efficient for the book, or it's efficient for the logistics of it, but it's not efficient for what the project is. The idea behind the project is not so much a touch mark registry. However, it's, think of the roaming gnome. The book itself needs to go to these locations. And when you get the book, you do whatever it is that you do to it. John Switzer did the hinges and the cover, beautifully done. Tim from Big Dog Forge, he did the leather clasp, the leather and brass clasp. Somebody had said that they wanted to emboss or chase the cover, things like that. In those links. Now, we have a plan to get it to Australia, and it will make it there. Whether I have to ship it there or whatever, ship it and then make the person bring it. Actually, it would be Adam bring it back. But the book itself should go to where it's being stamped for a couple reasons. Number one, so that the book goes on a journey. And people who have it can take pictures of it in their locale and post pictures and videos of it on its journey to the Forge Around the World Facebook page, and on their Instagrams and on their YouTubes and all that stuff. The idea being that if you're in another country, Australia, Europe's not a country, Europe's a region. Like a European country, or Britain.
There, Yamas.
Huh?
I said that's a continent there, Yamas.
Yeah, but you get the idea. So it's like, so that say Adam or Sam or Paul were to have the book, and they could stamp and hold something that John Switzer, that Sully, that Roy has handled, instead of just what would be in my mind a lifeless blank piece of steel that just becomes a part of the book. You actually hold the book in your hands and can look at it. It gives, in my opinion, a bit more life to the project. The book itself will develop its own sort of story. If that makes sense, or if my delusions of grandeur are way off, and the community itself would rather, I only want to stamp a piece and send it in. I don't want to get a shipment. I don't want to deal with any of that. That's kind of already a project that we were discussing before. That's like the Blacksmiths family tree project. Make a leaf, send it in. This is more of an item that everybody can handle. If that makes sense. So I'd like to kind of get that out there as please don't take offense. I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm not trying to micromanage it, but there's that vision for it.
And just to let people know, a project like this is so large that it kind of has to be a little bit micromanaged. So it's not that Yames is micromanaging, but he's trying to make as efficient as possible while still getting it done. And like he said, not ending up with 50 odd plates that won't fit into the book, that are stamped, one or two stamps on this dimension of plate, they're using if we have to add more plates over the period of time, like if I get it and by the time I get it, all the pages are full, then I will add another plate. But until that point, there's plenty of space in the plates that are already there. So rather than ending up with 50 plates that only have 3 or 4 touch marks on it, it's a book that we can fill with the touch marks, and like Yama said, like the story of the traveling gnome, it develops its own story and ethos in the community, and you can tell the story about the time that you got the traveling book and what you did with it. I mean, like for example, I've already discussed with Yamas. Eventually, when I actually get it, I'll probably go do. Yeah, I'm going to organise to take pictures of it with crocodiles. But that's something that is uniquely my story, because unless it goes to someone in far north Queensland, there's no one else that can really do that. So if someone gets it and they live near Gettysburg, go take a photo of it near Gettysburg, for example. This is something unique to you.
Grand Canyon, Golden Gate Bridge, whatever, Muir Woods, the pyramids of Giza, whatever, book makes a journey.
And part of the, I mean, in my opinion, part of the lore of it, or whatever fun part, is when you get the book and you sit there and you open it up, and then you get to like look at all these touch marks, and then and some of them you're going to recognize and some of them you're not, and be like, oh, look, that's so and so. Oh, look, that's so and so right there. I have no freaking idea who that is. Maybe no, I don't care. All right. Oh, I know that one. That to me, because I know when I stamped it, that's I looked at all the touch marks on there and tried to figure out who everybody was. Because there were granted, I personally know most of the people that had stamped the book at that point, but there were still a few that I was unfamiliar with. So that was neat and quite fun.
Yeah. And also as the book gets fuller, trying to figure out where your stamp can go in that too, and also because there's going to be certain, knowing and having seen as many touch marks as I have online and stuff like that, there's a whole variety of different touch marks, and people are going to gravitate towards something that's a bit. Human mind likes order. So if there's a page with just, and I'm thinking of something like Alex from Valhalla Ironworks here, where their touch marks are runes, people are going to put runes near each other simply because they like that. The human mind likes the aesthetic of that. And then if people have flags like mine, mine is a pirate flag. So I would probably put mine next, very close to Yama's, because Yama's has got an aesthetic similar to mine in the sense of the palm and crossbones. So that's human mind likes finding those patterns. So we're going to end up with you look at the pages and go, okay, where can my touch mark fit in this aesthetic as well?
It's going to develop a story. It's going to develop a life. In my poetic mind, the book will develop its own soul. It will become what it becomes. So yeah, I would love the easiest way would be like, okay, here's the Australian plate, here's the UK plate, here's the European plate, here's the Asian plate, and here's the American plate. But then you would have no chance of intermingling the project, so yeah, I just want to kind of get that, and I'll probably do another recorded video closer to this explanation to reiterate that, so that the world as a whole knows, or make a post on I'll transcribe this whole conversation and put a post on the Facebook page. But yeah, so Deranged brought up a good point that I'd like to address real quick before moving on, because this is not the topic of the show. Deranged says, like I mentioned before, I would love to be a part of that, but I'm moving to a new shop and wouldn't want to lose it while I'm moving. Well, this project's going to last several years, so if it takes you several years to move into your new shop, A, hire a better moving company, and B, it'll be ready for you when you're ready for it. You know, so
That's not fair, Yamas. I'm still 1 year into trying to move into my new shop. It's not even built yet, so that's not exactly fair.
fair or not, the statement still stands.
All right. Well, we're out of time for today. We didn't really
All
get
right.
to the main topic.
Holy no, it's
Uh,
not. We still have. It's perfect timing. Perfect time for a
yeah.
segue.
I want to just kind of out of out of the off topic, whatever, or in between topics. I wanted to mention, way early in the chat there, Bortagov said, might have been hard getting steel hot in the vacuum of space, Sully. Well, I was trying to figure out what that was. I was like, wait, what? I mean, because I actually, there was something that happened, regarding that. And then I was like, oh yeah, my green screen background. That's right. Yeah, that's Earthrise from the surface of the moon. But anyways, yeah, what I was gonna bring up is in space you don't have to get it hot because in a hard vacuum, metals that are touching weld together by being in a vacuum, and they don't even have to be the same metal. You can weld aluminum to steel, whatever. I mean, that's why they use Teflon in joints in spacecraft because if the metal pieces touch each other, they will seize up. It became a real problem during the Gemini project way back in the day that they didn't know about until they sent stuff into space and went, "Oh, this isn't working." So, anyways, that's just that you said the space thing, and I was literally like looking this stuff up yesterday. So cool.
So on that note, talk about the chat and just welcome a few more people. Michael Robertson, Sam Towns has joined us in the chat. He's with us tonight. Derange, good morning, good evening, or evening as we say. Wayne and Steve Parsons, g'day. And Neil Graham from Iron Mushroom Forge. Has a book coming along. I just did touch on that topic before. I will leave that until a little bit later. We've got stuff to do. John Brunel saying he's going to stamp it at Quad State. Brendan Strickland, g'day. Dylan Corwin. Looks like we've got a fair few people in here tonight. The chat's fairly rolling through. And, of course, we've got a $20 super chat from Ryan Sullivan. God changed the world, and as well as you guys are doing in the blacksmithing world. So thank you very much, Ryan. Really appreciate it. We always love the super chats. Of course, don't feel compelled to do it, but everyone give him a round of applause.
No, Ryan, he's required to send them. He's required. It's penance. He's required to send them. Thank you very much.
Oh.
I appreciate it. Love you, brother. Penance for what I'll not say.
Right, I see. One of those situations.
For sending me gooey Ziploc bags. Not going into that. Never mind. All right. Topic of the week is gold. Not all that glitters is gold, but gold is the topic, so it glitters, and we have special guest Trail Dust, which we didn't actually get to see. What is up with your week? And then we will go right into gold because you are here to talk with Sully about gold.
Well, good morning, good evening to, and any other appropriate greeting for you. My week has been, basically work and home. My day job is a steel fabricator. I work mostly on stairs and railings. And then I come home and I do blacksmithing and that sort of stuff. So my week's doing better because as I'm aging and decomposing, I've been cutting back on my hours. So I've been getting a little more rest.
Nice. And I will say this right now, real quick, to those listening. I apologize for the plings. There is a situation with a web page that is sending me notifications whether it's open or closed, and the team behind it is trying to fix it. So for the audio people out there, I apologize. It's something I got to deal with right now.
Right. So, anyways, I wanted to talk about gold this week because, I mean, well, why not? I have a slight history with gold. When I lived in Farmington, New Mexico, many moons ago, I think I was in the neighborhood of 12. See, I moved up there in 2002. So, gosh, that's been a while ago. I was going to say 10 years ago, but no, that's been 20. So anyways, I used to be a member of the Durango Diggers, which was the local chapter of the Gold Prospectors Association of America, and did a fair bit of what do you call it, placer mining, which, you know, getting out in the rivers with the sluices and dredges and pans and, you know, and just all of that stuff, and had a really good time with it. I mean, just loved it. I actually had to buy a wetsuit for that because even in the middle of the summertime, you know, the water in those rivers is like 34 degrees. And yeah, that's a little tough. But anyways, I also for a brief point of about 2 years owned 2 gold mines. Well, I didn't own them; I had them claimed. And I never actually got much gold out of there. I got a lot of. I don't know. I just had fun with it. I mean, it didn't cost hardly anything to claim, and I just had to show some minor improvements each year in order to maintain the claim. And then when I moved from there, I just let them go. I had, but anyways, I had fun. You know, being a half mile underground. You know, just chipping away at rocks. I just, to me, I felt right at home. So anyway, so I have this you know, love of the metal, not so much in the fact that, oh, it'll make you rich or whatever, but I just had so much fun trying to acquire it. I mean, just that was for me, that was the allure. So gold is it's got the symbol AU because the original word in Latin is aurum, AURUM. Which, you know, sometimes you look at an element on the periodic table and it makes complete sense why the letters that are its symbol are what they are, and sometimes you don't have a clue. Kind of like mercury is Hg. Well, gold is Au because it was called aurum in Latin, and it is one of the highest naturally occurring elements on Earth. Of course, we all know its properties of being soft, malleable, ductile, and all that. It is one of the least reactive chemical elements, so it's very often found in free elemental form. Just gold. There's nothing else with it. But it's found as nuggets, veins, alluvial deposits. It also occurs as a solid solution with silver. That's called electrum, and it naturally alloys with other metals like copper, palladium, platinum, well, all of the PGMs, indium, rhodium, etc. And it also occurs in mineral inclusions like iron pyrite, and it also occurs less commonly as gold compounds combined with tellurium. All right, I always called it tellurilium, but I'm adding letters in there, and now it's hard for me to correct myself. But it's those are called tellurides, like the town Telluride, Colorado. Now, where I did my mining, that's what we were mining was tellurides, primarily calaverite and sylvanite. Calaverite and sylvanite are both combinations of gold and silver, but of varying gold. Like one of them is 60% gold and the other one is like 40% gold, but they're basically the same thing. They're a combination of gold and tellurium. Screw it, I'm just going with tellurilium. And I'm after the show, I'm gonna make myself get that right. But anyways, but it doesn't occur as a metal when it's combined with tellurilium. It's a crystal. It looks like pyrite, kind of, sort of like the way pyrite looks, like a crystalline cubic form or whatever, and it crushes up like rocks or whatever. so it's not a metallic form. Even though they're both metals, they form granular crystals. And the way I would recover it would be to roast the ore. And when the ore reaches a temperature over 1,000 degrees, the tellurium evaporates and leaves the gold behind. And that was always lots of fun, building furnaces and building rock crushers. I'm like, if you go back to my channel, all the way back to the beginning, one of my first videos got like thousands of views. It says homemade rock crusher, right? And it's not even a how-to video or anything. It's I built the thing, and this was back in the early days of YouTube, anyways. And I wanted to show my mining partner how it worked, and I could. The video was too large to send on the phone. So I just like, hey, hold on, let me just upload it to YouTube real quick, and I'll send you the link so you can look at it. And that's what it was for, just so he could see how I built this jaw rock crusher. And it's still there, and yeah. And I actually haven't done any mining since slightly after that video was taken, but here nor there. Gold is resistant to most acids. It does dissolve in aqua regia, which is a 3-to-2 ratio of nitric acid and hydrochloric acid, and it's insoluble in nitric acid alone, which dissolves silver, platinum, etc., etc. But yeah, aqua regia is the only acid that will dissolve gold. Interesting stuff there. Let's see. Gold. Oh yeah. Cyanide. It dissolves in cyanide, which is also fun. I wanted to do cyanide leaching for my ore, because it's cheap, it's effective, and as long as you know what you're doing, it's safe. As long as your reaction doesn't go acidic. If your reaction goes acidic, it then off gases hydrogen cyanide gas, which is deadly if inhaled. That's what they use in the gas chamber, and that's what it is. They take a little pill of cyanide and they drop it into a little bowl of acid, and it off gases hydrogen cyanide. So as long as you keep your solution basic, it's fine. Unfortunately, I needed about a cup of hydrocyanic. Sure. Anyways, I needed a cup of cyanide, and to do all of my all of my leaching. That's all I was going to need. And unfortunately, that stuff is really hard to get, and the only place I could get it was from China. And if I bought it from China, I had to buy a 55-gallon drum. And so, yeah, that wasn't happening. Gold also dissolves in mercury, which is called an amalgamum, which is like the mercury just coats all around it and carries it with it. Gold is a precious metal that has been used for coinage, jewelry, and other arts throughout recorded history. In the past, a gold standard was often implemented as monetary policy. Gold coins ceased to be minted as a circulating currency in the 1930s, and the world's gold standard was abandoned for a fiat currency system after the Nixon shock measures of 1971. In 2020, the world's largest gold producer was China, followed by Russia and Australia. A total of around 201,296 tons of gold exist above ground as of 2020. This is equal to a cube, with each side measuring 21.7 meters or 71 feet. That's a big cube. The world consumption of new gold produced is about 50% in jewelry, 40% in investments, and 10% in industry. I really would have thought industry would have been higher than that, because it's used for plating all of the connectors and computers and chips and stuff and whatnot. Gold's high malleability and ductility resistance to corrosion and most other chemical reactions and conductivity of electricity have led to its continued use in corrosion-resistant electrical connectors and all types of computerized devices. Gold is also used in infrared shielding, the production of colored glass, gold leafing, tooth restoration, and certain gold salts are still used as anti-inflammatories in medicine. Now, gold is the most malleable of all metals. It can be drawn into a wire of a single atom width and then stretched considerably before it breaks. And I'm looking at a scanning electron microscope image of somebody stretching a single atom wire of gold until it breaks, and you can see the gap in between the atoms. It's pretty neat. A single gram of gold can be beaten into a sheet of 1 square meter, 11 square feet, and an ounce into 300 square feet. Gold leaf can be beaten thin enough to become semi-transparent. Hence, that's the sun visors on spacesuits. The transmitted light appears a greenish blue because gold strongly reflects yellow and red. Such semi-transparent sheets also strongly reflect infrared light, making them useful as infrared heat shields in visors of heat-resistant suits and in sun visors for spacesuits. Gold has a density of 19 grams per cubic centimeter, almost identical to that of tungsten. As such, tungsten has been used in counterfeiting of gold bars, such as by plating a tungsten bar with gold, or taking an existing gold bar, drilling holes, and replacing the removed gold with tungsten rods. By comparison, the density of lead is 11 grams per cubic centimeter, and that of the densest element, osmium, is 22. I did not know that. I didn't know osmium was more dense. Yeah, and that's basically. I mean, the rest of it. Then after that we're getting into the weeds on the chemistry and the isotopes and stuff like that. So I'd like to turn it over to the rare co-host and give us your takes on gold and its usage and what you do with it.
Well, insofar as blacksmithing, gold would only be used, as far as I consider, would be used for gold leaf to cover things, and Roy has done that on one of his projects, at least one of his projects, or as made into ornaments on some very high-end pieces. My experience with gold, my wife is a second-generation goldsmith. Her father was a master goldsmith, and he tried to get me to become a jeweler, and I was considering it and learning some of that stuff until I made the not-so-clever decision to remain a steel fabricator and beat the hell out of my body. Gold, 24-karat gold, is pure gold. The 14-karat gold that we are so familiar with that's used for jewelry is 60% gold, and it's alloyed with other things to make it more durable. Otherwise, pure gold would wear out really quickly. There is not a formula for 24-karat gold. It could be, it's 60% gold, and then other things are added depending on the properties you want to take. When jewelers order gold, they can order it in shot for casting, or darn, I just blanked out.
Shot for casting, bar, wire for
wire and plate, and an assortment of things, also in fittings or findings. The that'll hold gems and so forth, and clasps and all this sort of thing. Solder, gold solder, and all this sort of thing.
To make it easier to use.
Now, the different colors of gold, for instance, white gold is gold that's alloyed with nickel and silver and so forth. Yellow gold will have copper in it. Rose gold will have more copper in it. So the composition of gold will vary depending on what the properties are. Now, pure gold, as Sully had said, drawn into a wire. He said 1 atom thick. That's not how I had remembered it, but it's can be drawn into a wire. Now, they draw it into a wire by pulling it through a drawing block. A block could be a flat piece of steel, and I've got a picture uploaded on.
I'll pull it up again.
Discord. And they'll put it through. It's got a series of holes in it, getting smaller and smaller. And one side is tapered, countersunk or something, so you can get it started. And you actually pull it through and stretch it through there, and then you go to the next smaller hole. When they do it, the traditional lubricant for that, you're going to love that, is beeswax. So they have something in common with blacksmiths in that case. And they can, an ounce of 24 karat gold can be drawn into a wire about a mile long, if I remember correctly. I have no idea how thin that is, much thinner than a hair. Now, Sully had said an atom thick, so it's pretty thin. And trying to figure out the size of an ounce of gold for comparison, I was trying to think of something or determine it by like a stack of 4 nickels or something that we can relate to. What I found was a cube that is 1.4 centimeters on each side, which isn't very big. To draw that into a wire a mile long.
Well, 1 atom thick.
And it's also
well, 1 atom thick. We all know atoms thick, so that's not that.
Well, the
And
one atom thing is just for all intents and purposes, that's a scientific experiment type thing, just to see if it could be done. That's what that was. That's not saying that is a practical usable gold wire. That's just it can be done in a laboratory and photographed. So.
And as for a cube 1.4 centimeters wide, think of a small Monopoly dice. So not your regular one, because your regular one is about 2 centimeters wide. So a little bit smaller than a regular Monopoly dice, a mini dice. That's about cubed. That's about the size of 1 ounce of gold.
okay.
Is
Now,
24K pure gold?
yes, it is.
Okay.
And then Sully had talked about gold leaf. Now, the traditional way of doing that would be to put a tiny piece of gold between 2 pieces of sheepskin, and there would be a stack of those. They'd start with a stack like 2-3 inches tall, and I would sit there with a wooden mallet and pound on it and turn it and flip it, pound on it, all day long to get that little piece to stretch out to this gold leaf that is nearly transparent. It's sort of like working with a bubble, soap bubble type of thing. So it's tricky to work with.
Tweezers and stuff.
And I'm sure there's you got to get a hold of it and you got to kind of blow on it to get it to flow free because it's so easy to tear. I remember as a kid in grade school that we took a tour to the state capitol, and we were up on the rotunda walking around, and there are 4 horses up there that are covered with gold leaf. Of course, the back side of the horses where we got to walk and see fingernail marks where people had scratched off some of the gold.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure they weren't going to get rich doing that, but they had to try. And gold has very little resistance to electricity. I recall when I was in junior high, that is back when it was called junior high, shop class, and that's back when it was called shop class, that we had a guest speaker come in who had worked on the Manhattan Project. For someone who might not be familiar with that, that's a project that developed the atomic bombs that were dropped on Japan. Hold on a second. What?
Yeah, the Manhattan Project.
I was watching a video earlier about the Demon Core.
I watched that video.
The Scott Manley one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, my wife was talking on the phone.
That's all good.
Anyways, he had worked on the Manhattan Project, and what I remember most from that is that he didn't really know exactly what they were working on at the time, but he had asked for wire, because he says when you're working on a project, they're always trying to scrounge with wire. And they supplied him with solid gold wire. At that time, he realized that what he was working on was very, very serious.
Right.
Oh, and I think the second picture I had on Discord was the pliers, if you will, that they used to grasp the gold and pull it through the drawing block to draw it into a wire.
And that's why it's
Uh,
got that hook there, so you
That's
can.
so it doesn't slip out of the hand. They're actually called drawing tongs. So there again, you gotta love that. Um, the third picture is a dapping block, which they'll use to put a piece in there and kind of dome it or shape and so forth.
Right.
And the fourth picture is a little swage block that jewelers will use. And I believe that one is like 3.5 inches square, maybe an inch thick. So it's a real cutie. You know, I imagine Yamas, if he had one, he'd probably put it on a necklace and wear it.
Bling bling.
I mean, that's what I'd do with it.
Yeah. That's
Well,
that's my use. Drill a hole and put it on a necklace.
you've always got to have it handy.
Yeah. Make it a keychain. Excuse me while I whip this out and work some gold.
So that might be most of my knowledge of gold. I mean, I do the casting gold and silver rings for my wife, rings and other things here at home. So I've got a little experience with that. But other than that, I'm not all that knowledgeable.
Do you now? Do you do any alloying yourself, or do you purchase it or whatever, or pre-alloy to the right ratios?
We purchase it. Actually, one of the recommended friends on my Facebook page that I've never asked for a friend is the owner of a refinery nearby, gold refinery. It's sort of humorous that I would get that connection, even though I've met him, but I don't really know him.
Humorous is also a bone in the body. Sorry. I'm the comic relief.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, on the topic of gold, I also have a little bit to add. So I actually live in an area in Australia, in the Northern Territory, which is synonymous to gold production. I grew up. My father is a gold miner. Worked in the mines, gold mining for many years. Is how we ended up living in the Northern Territory. So here in Australia, gold mine is you've got several different types of gold. You've got your hard rock gold, which is generally what people use. You've got open cut underground mining, generally called rock apes or tunnel rats. And people who work in underground mining are the ones that actually go down in the tunnels and dig it out that way. And of course, you've got large open cut mining. One of the biggest mines in the world. It's actually a gold mine, the Kalgoorlie Super Pit, which I believe is the second biggest mine in the world, or last time I checked it was. It is a gold mine, only second to the Super Pit, which is a diamond mine in I think it's a diamond mine in South Africa. The other types of gold that you can come across is alluvial gold, and that's generally the ones which are located in creeks or deposited in gravels and stuff like that used to be watercourses. And then, of course, as Sully mentioned before, alloyed or mixed gold that's generally in with something else. You can find gold being so common, it will near on be found with just about any other precious metal. So where you can find copper, tin, silver, uranium, lead, and a variety of other metals, you can actually find gold. I live in an area of the world that's basically called the Pine Creek Geosyncline, that runs from, and everyone knows Kakadu National Park. It's an internationally renowned national park that's here in the Northern Territory. It actually runs from north of Ranger Uranium Mine and the former Jabiluka Uranium Mine, all the way through the middle of Kakadu, and of course you can't mine in Kakadu because it's protected, but all the way down past Pine Creek and almost to Catherine. So it has this ore body that contains, again, uranium, gold, tin, silver, copper, and a lot of other metals. Lead runs over, I think it's over 500 kilometers. Not quite in a straight line, but nearly in a straight line. And of course, it contains both hard rock and alluvial deposits of gold all the way down. The most common way and most commercial way of removing gold from hard rock is, as Sally mentioned before, cyanide. The reason why Jabiluka gold mine that was in the Jabiluka uranium mine, which was in Kakadu National Park, was originally closed. It was an underground mine, but it was using cyanide in order to extract the gold from the hard rock in order to actually pay for the mine. So it was a self-sufficient mine, but it got closed down because of the use of cyanide in a national park. Australia is, as Sally mentioned, one of the largest producers of gold, and there's only 2 countries in the world, I believe, that still maintain a gold standard when it comes to their currency, and that one of those is Russia, I believe, and the other one, I believe, is also Malta. And Malta has a very high currency conversion rate when it comes to trying to buy their currency, even though they do have a euro as one of their currencies, and that's mainly because they still maintain the gold standard, whereas most of the rest of the world backs off the US, which is a petrochemical dollar. And that's my little bit about it, adding to the topic.
I apologize. I got to be kind of quiet on this topic because I have never even held gold in my hands. Well, I take that back. I have the littlest, ittiest, bittest amount of gold on my thing, but that's it. I've never actually messed with gold ever.
So, yeah. Also, like a couple neat little tidbits. Because the Earth was molten when it formed, almost all the gold present in the early Earth probably sank to the planetary core. And so most of the gold that is in the Earth's crust and mantle was likely delivered by asteroid impacts during the late heavy bombardment about 4 billion years ago, which is pretty neat. And
almost as old as me.
Yeah. There's also about 10 to 30 parts per quadrillion of gold in seawater as gold chloride. It's one of the salts in sea salt. And the earliest recorded metal employed by humans appears to be gold, which can be found free or native. Small amounts of natural gold have been found in Spanish caves used during the late Paleolithic period, about 40,000 BC, so 42,000 years ago. And then, of course, everybody familiar with the most famous gold artifacts, being the stuff from the Egyptian pre-dynastic period, the 5th millennium BC. So, Egypt was very prolific in its gold use as a decoration. So,
yeah, no, not even. Sorry, in the chat they were asking, you've never messed with gold, even not even your wedding ring? Nope, my wedding ring was titanium.
Oh yeah, so was mine.
Yeah, is. I mean, it's not like it, stopped becoming titanium.
Oh yeah, I actually still have mine too. It's on my keychain with my postbox keys.
Nice.
I was gonna say, isn't it funny that humans were before we were coppersmiths and before anything else, we were goldsmiths.
The original metalsmith.
Nothing like rubbing alcohol on all your cuts.
Cut finder.
Oh, that's a good time.
I can't touch my wedding ring and then not sanitize my hands.
John Burnell asked, would it come up as volcanic? Yes. Gold from the Earth's mantle can come up in volcanic eruptions. Now, in the case of like the gold that I was mining, the hard rock mining I was doing, where I was recovering tellurides, the way that stuff happens is during a volcanic, or in the presence of volcanic activity, deep underground and in the Earth's mantle there is water, but it's obviously it's in the form of steam, and it's superheated. Well, when sometimes that steam can work its way up through, and you wind up getting you got steam that's 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's sliding up through the granite and all that, or the basalt and what have you. Well, it tends to dissolve metals on its way through, metals such as gold, uranium, all those heavy elements that are way down deep, and it carries them up with it. And as it goes up through the Earth's crust, it cools and it deposits those metals on the sides of the fissure or whatever, and that's how you get veins of ore. It's deposited by superheated steam from volcanic activity.
So is your face. No. And no, gold is not very, very reactive. That's what makes it last so long. What other kind of salts of gold are there? Thank you, George.
All right. Well, off the top of my head, without Googling it or anything like that, I know there's gold chloride. Okay, that's AuCl3 maybe, and the only other one would be maybe some halides. I'd have to. I can't even. I don't even have a periodic table handy. I could list off the different salts you can, perchloride salts and whatnot, that you could get with it. So there's probably. Oh, I would say there's probably
10.
3 or 4 common.
Oh. I was going to say 10.
3 or 4 common salts that you could come up with. But gold chloride being obviously the most common, and even but still. And so, and honestly, that is one of the ways. Like I've done some recovery of what do you call it? PGMs from DPF filters and what are they called? Catalytic converters. And well, by the same account, you can do that same kind of process on gold from electronics, and you wind up with gold in a solution. And that solution, if it's not in aqua regia, then it is in solution as gold chloride. And then you've got to drop the and I've actually seen like a gallon jar of gold chloride, and it weighed like 40 kilograms. I mean, it was insane. Just a gallon jar of it looks like white salt, and it's because it's primarily gold. Yeah, it was pretty heavy. I mean, well, it's not primarily gold because it's actually primarily chlorine, but as far as space-wise, chlorine takes up the most space in the salt. So
yeah,
you can also get gold sulfate.
Oh, yeah,
which is a red crystal, and it's as a salt of gold and sulfur, of course. So that's another type you can get, and of course that has to be diluted. It's moderately water and definitely acid soluble. That bleaches off the actual the sulfur in order to relieve the gold remaining.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean,
like I said, I don't have a lot on gold. I've had some friends tell me that they were going to send me some gold to work. But when I was doing those coin merge doubloons, there was a buddy from the Cryptoverse that was going to send me, his cast and pour like a few doubloons of gold for me to send and stamp, and he never got around to it. He's busy. Busy. So yeah. Until
What
that
about you,
happens,
Charles?
yeah.
What about you, Charles? Have you got anything to add?
Well, yeah, actually, when you talked about some of the stuff, I happen to remember that when my wife, or any jeweler actually, will work on stuff, they'll save the gold filings. When they're cutting with a saw, they'll save the shavings and so forth. When they're polishing, they'll save the buffing wheels, they'll save the files, they'll save the filters on the buffer.
Everything.
And everything. And when they shampoo the carpet, if they have carpet, when they shampoo the carpet, they'll save the sludge from the water
And then
send
tan
all
that.
send that all to the recycler, to the refiner. So it's
Now, I
every
recently
little
watched on that trail list. I recently watched one of them a little video that popped up on my feed. Somebody who works with gold, cleaned her work area, vacuums and scrubs and everything, and then processed it herself and got like I think 3 or 4 grams of gold, from just cleanup, and she's like that's an expensive an expensive mistake if I were to just throw all that away.
yeah, it's pretty valuable dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got a I've got a Ziploc bag underneath my my bathroom sink here that has concentrates from the Mayday mine in La Plata County, Colorado. I brought my gold pans up here because some years ago I took them with me up to Quad State so I could show the kids how to pan for gold, whatever. And well, when I brought my pans here from home, I had that little Ziploc baggie of concentrates from the Mayday, and I mean I don't have the equipment here to process it. That's all that's put away at home in totes and whatnot. And yeah, it's literally been sitting here underneath my sink for years. And
I mean, if you're not going to do anything, that I like to collect Ziploc bags with substances in them.
Right. And
you're gonna get yourself arrested, Yamas. Comments like that.
So another little tidbit: it is estimated that 25% of the yearly global production of gold originates from artisanal and small-scale mining. So while there's all these great big gold mines and corporations, still 25% of it just comes from little guys mining all by themselves and stuff. Which I mean, like with when I had my mines, there was a good friend of mine had a mine on the other side of the ridge from mine, and his was I'm not sure of its current status, but the longest continuously operating gold mine in the world. And it would been well, I mean, it was at the time because it had been in continuous operation since the 1860s, and he was bringing out about 27 ounces to the ton. Which is really, really good. I mean, like he was on a streak there. But the only thing is you could only get to those mines for about 3 months out of the year. The rest of the year you're snowed out, and so I mean you can hike in, but you're not gonna it's 14,000 feet elevation. You're not gonna pack out very much ore if you got to hike in because it's I mean it's only a couple miles. As far as as the crow flies, but in upwards distance and switchbacks, I mean, from the pavement to where my mine was 7 miles, and it took 2.5 hours. So, but in any case, so what Bob would do is he would go up as soon as he could get in, and he would start drilling and blasting and just piling up the ore and all that, and then he would, in the springtime, and then as soon as he could get his pickup up close enough, he would start packing out ore and packing out ore and packing out ore, and he would pack out about 500 to 1,000 pounds a day, depending on how long it took him to get there and whatever. And I mean, this is by hand. Like he's got a canvas backpack, and he just fills it full of rocks, puts it on his back, and carries it all the way through the mine, all the way back out, and puts it in the back of the pickup, dumps it out, takes a little break, goes back in. Just over and over and over, and makes. Said he could make the pack would hold 80 pounds, and he could make 6 trips a day. So I mean that's what he would bring out, give or take, and he would do that every day for 3 months, And then he would spend all winter crushing it and roasting it and, separating it out on a vibrating table and casting it into ingots. And then, every November, December, he would take all of his gold and sell it. And that was his entire annual income. He got paid once a year. Every winter he would sell his ingots, and that would be his money for the next 12 months.
Nice.
And I mean, and to be fair, I mean, he wasn't, by any means wealthy, but at least not monetarily. But he did get to do what he loved every single day. I mean, because he was a rock guy, and he was probably the smartest rock guy I've ever met in my life. When I was in his mine one time, I carried out this. I found he's like, yeah, you come on in. You keep whatever you can pack out. It doesn't matter. He's like, there's plenty of rock in here. I was like, all right. And I carried out this rock. It was huge. I mean, like it was huge, and it was probably, I don't know, 35, 45 pounds, something like that. And I mean, I couldn't even carry it out in one shot. I mean, like I had to set it down in the mine on several different occasions and just kind of wait, take a break. I mean, because elevation, no oxygen, and it took me probably 45 minutes to get it out to the out in front where the what do you call it? Out front where the portal is. And we're all sitting there eating lunch, and Bob looks over. He's like, "Oh, that's a really nice rock right there." And he's like, "Hey, bud, see that corner right there? I want that." And I'm like, "Okay." And he just whips out a hammer, reaches over, and goes tap tap, and knocks that corner of the rock off, and put it in his sack. And that corner was like just straight up calaverite. I mean, it was. He took all the. I wound up with maybe about $12 worth of gold in the rest of that rock.
So he knocked that corner off, and it became like 40% lighter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not as smart as he is, and so like in the mine, he would have saw that, and he would have just knocked the corner off and threw it in his pack and not messed with the rest of the rock. No, I brought out the whole dang rock, and because I mean, back then we didn't have LED lights, and so all we had were like these little miner's headlights that were basically it was the same bulb as like a what do you call it, a mag light. And they took the same bulb as a mag light back in the day, and you powered it with you had a belt with the big square 6-volt batteries, and you have 2 of those on your back, and that's what powered it. And they were so dim. I mean, because it would I would go inside, and it would take easily 10 minutes before you could see anything with the light on the little mining light, and so that was really tough. And like trying to figure out how, because the rocks look different by that little headlight than they do with out and outside. And that took a little bit of getting used to. I mean, for Bob, he can just see it out of the corner of his eye as he walks by at a quick pace in the mine and be like, "Oh, there's a spot," Me, I could look right at it, squint, get up close, and be like, "I don't know."
Take it anyway.
So we do have a question from George Anderson. You were talking about getting gold from electronics. What is the best acid for dissolving the pins off computer CPUs to make that aqua regia?
Okay, so first things first. When you're dealing with the pins on, let's say, a memory stick, that's a good example. I'd have to take my headphones off, but I've got one literally sitting up here on my in my drawer. The problem first off is it's not solid gold; they're gold plated, and so what you got to do is get rid of the copper underneath first. Otherwise, you're going to dissolve your copper so that memory stick is going to contain lead, gold, and copper. And if you try to take the gold first, all of it's going to come at the same time. It's all going to mix together, and you're going to have primarily this mixture of lead and copper with a little bit of trace amounts of gold in it. So what you would do first is like take a knife and scratch across the pins so it will expose the copper underneath. And then you soak those things in nitric acid, and the nitric acid will dissolve the gold, not the gold, but it will dissolve the copper and the lead and that will all go off into solution, and it'll off gas brown gas, which is nitric oxide, not nitrous oxide, but nitric oxide. And so you want to be upwind of it and outdoors or in a vent hood. And when it stops bubbling and all that, I mean, you'll pull out the little card and there'll be nothing left on the card. But then you filter that. Now all of the copper and lead is going to be dissolved and in solution, so it's not going to be in there. So any debris that's in there is going to be leftover gold. Now you do that enough times and you filter it enough times, and you get a little bit of this, that, and the other. And then you can take that. You can either take that and just melt that straight down, or you can dissolve it in aqua regia, which is two parts hydrochloric acid to 3 parts nitric acid. Nitric acid is really, really hard to get. And really expensive. I bought a quart one time on eBay, and it was quote unquote phosphoric acid, and it was $80. And so you got to really be careful with that nitric acid. I currently own like 3 or 4 gallons of it because my ex-wife moved into a house that had 3 or 4 gallons of it in the laundry room underneath in the cabinet, and she called me. There's all this nitric acid, and there's chem suits, like the Breaking Bad chem suits and all that. And she's like, "What's all this?" And I was like, "Don't mess with it. I'll be over when I get off work, and I'll take all that off your hands. It's dangerous shit. You don't want dangerous stuff. You don't want the kids around it." And but the previous resident of the house was into metal recovery, so they had a bunch of brass and tungsten carbide and whatever. They were trying to do some smelting and recovering of precious metals, but not quite right. So due to that person's shall we say recreational proclivities, they wound up going to prison, and so all of that stuff was left in the house they were renting when she took it over, and now I have it. And yes, John Burnell, that is correct. Muriatic acid will also dissolve copper, albeit slower, but it is considerably cheaper and easier to acquire. That's for sure.
And half the problem with recovering gold from electronics is the cost to a value ratio you spend. There's a lot more cost in the chemicals and stuff like that in recovering gold from electronics, as opposed to the cost of mining it new. That's the reason why it's really an economy of scale. That's why a lot of electronic recovery is done by large companies, because those companies can afford to buy the chemicals up front, but also can afford to recycle those chemicals and get the most bang for their buck. So then they can also distill the copper and lead out of the solution of the nitric acid in order to sell those back and get the money back for those metals as well. So and on a small scale, it's a great thing to do out of interest and learn how to do it, but it's an economy of scale. You're never gonna make it rich trying to get money from your electronics unless you're doing it on a very large scale.
Okay, John Burnell says, I think you can make nitric acid by distilling muriatic. I don't know. Nitric acid is HNO3. That's hydrogen and nitrogen and oxygen, and muriatic acid is HCl, so hydrogen and chlorine. So they're 2 different chemicals entirely. You make nitric acid. I've made my own nitric acid before, and that's fun. But you put copper and gosh, I don't remember what it was. Copper and water, hydrochloric acid. And it creates a nitrogen oxide gas, which you tube over into bubbles into hydrogen peroxide, and that converts the hydrogen peroxide into nitric acid. So I have made my own nitric acid before, and it actually the reaction kind of slowed down on me, and I had a buddy there, and I was using a vent hood and all that, and I was like, hey, bring me another 100 milliliters of that hydrochloric acid right quick. So he brings it over, and I raised the vent hood up, and I poured that extra 100 milliliters in. And I stoppered it back up, and boy, that reaction just started going and going and going. And we were both standing side by side, and the vent hood was closed, and we both just stepped back and stepped back and stepped back. About the fourth time we stepped back, it all exploded in there. Boom! I had stuff everywhere, and I was like, well, that didn't work the way I wanted. And so, when the instructions say 100 milliliters of hydrochloric, laboratory grade hydrochloric acid, they mean 100 milliliters, not 200. So that was the only time I attempted to make nitric acid. Now the reaction vessel actually did have nitric acid in it. That actually worked, but or the catalyst one. But the one that you start with is the one that exploded. And I was the distillation thing that went across was I bent that out of glass tubing. So it was a glass thing, rubber stoppers in flasks and all that. And it shattered the glass tubing in like 6 different places. So I was not of the mindset to like rebend a whole nother piece of glass. And I was like, all right, never mind. I'll just buy it. And that's actually a week later is when I bought my first quart of nitric acid. And I was like, man, this seems like it's not really going to be because unless you can recover your nitric acid when you're done with it, it doesn't make any sense. And that's what Adam was saying. Large corporations can afford to recover computer electronics because they have the means to recycle their acid, to take out the stuff, the bad stuff without ruining it, and then separate that away, like the lead, the copper, the arsenic, the nickel, and all that stuff. So they can remove all that from the nitric acid and reuse the nitric acid. As far as I know, that is probably the most expensive component of the entire recovery operation. And if you can't reuse it, it costs you more in acid than what you're going to get in metal. So my precious metal recovery uses primarily muriatic acid and chlorine bleach. So it's chlorine leaching the platinum and palladium out of ceramic substrate. I did try the acid route for my gold recovery on my concentrates, but then I found that it's just as easy to put everything in a cement mixer, all of my concentrates in a cement mixer with 2 pounds of mercury, and let that thing roll for about a half a day, and then dump it all out in a trough, and then run all of my concentrates through a spiral wheel, in which case all the mercury works its way back up and drops into a bucket in the back. And I get all my mercury back with all of the gold amalgamated with it, and then I put it in a thing called a mercury retort, which is basically a still for mercury. And it boils the mercury off on one side, and it condenses on the other side, and it leaves the gold in the little retort. So that's the way I wound up doing all of my gold recovery, was through mercury amalgamation. And another one of those things that I didn't really think was going to be easy to do, because mercury is surprisingly hard to get. It's banned in the United States, and I wound up actually buying it from China. So so I wound up getting 2 pounds of mercury for China, and I think it was like 50. There's 2 things of 500 grams, 2 ceramic bottles, 500 grams each is what I got. And I want to say it was either $50 or $75 per bottle. So now I still have all of that mercury, but and there's actually still gold in it. Because I remember the last time I ran it, I put it back in the bottle, and I have not retorted it. And gosh, it's been in amalgamation for 12 years. So there's probably not any more than like $5 worth of gold in it. Well, no, I take that back. Maybe 50. But yeah.
$50
Now,
is $50. I've done a lot of things for $50, man. Go on.
Someone said
We don't want to talk
before,
about what you've done for $50.
George Anderson said, if you spill some acid like that at your house, what's the easiest way to neutralize it? It
Baking
really
soda.
depends on how acidic. I was about to say it depends on how acidic it is. You can keep adding baking soda until it's neutralized. Of course, that's going to be the cheapest way. The quickest way would be to add its opposite. So if it's acidic, if it's a 1 on the pH scale, then you want to go to like probably an 11 or 12 on the basic side. So that way you directly neutralize the acidity back to your neutral of 6 to 7. But
Yeah.
it depends. Again, if you all you have is baking soda and keep adding that until it's neutral, really, it's going to keep reacting and keep attempting to neutralize until it goes neutral.
Yeah, I typically, well, I mean, like, not for that reason, but I mean, like, when I was doing my my metal recovery bit, my PGM recovery, I had a one of them big sack, like a 10-pound sack of baking soda just for that. Now at home, when I'm messing with acids, I've also got a 5-gallon buck of caustic soda, which is sodium hydroxide or lye, granulated. And for strong acids, I mean, that knocks it right out real quick. It is a very exothermic reaction, though. So, I mean, it's not something you want to do in a glass container or a plastic container. Well, I mean, glass would be all right, but it depends on what it's under. Because even mixing water with sodium hydroxide, it gets hot. And that's, and that, like, I'll take a 1/2-gallon mason jar and I'll put like a 1/4 cup of sodium hydroxide in the bottom, mix it up with water, and then I go just dump that in the drain in the shower at my house, because it gets slow really quick. And so about twice a year I take a 1/4 cup of lye and use it to clean it, dissolve all the hair and soap and everything else that gets hung up under there. But that is also handy for neutralizing extremely strong acids. But for the common person, or even myself, baking soda is cheap and it's effective. The only problem is sometimes when you have enough baking soda that it just kind of turns into like this cake that you've poured on the spilt acid, and so you like I've done that and had to actually add water to it to make sure I got it all.
Yeah. Y'all are talking science, and I'm trying to slip my comic relief jokes in, and I fail. But yeah, we're pushing 11, almost 11:30. So unless y'all have any more to say on it, and I'm sure you guys have more to say.
Oh my! I could go on for hours. But, we'll call that a show, I think.
I know people were filtering out, and I noticed earlier. I'm so glad Adam is wearing pants, because we can see his entire body in the mirror behind him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, even my bald spot.
I can't get away with that, but no pun intended. Let's go on to our final thoughts. So, what are your final thoughts? What's your final words to say? We'll start with Trail Dust as the guest of honor. You got any final thoughts on everything?
Well, I'm glad I was able to spend some time stuttering here. Hopefully, something was interesting. I'd also like to say, anybody, if it was their first time here, thanks for coming. Just like Adam always does on his. But
Yep.
That's it for me.
All right. Either of you two, Alex, Adam?
Yeah, sure. Let me see if I can do this. If you're new here, thanks for coming. If I can't remember it, dang it. Thanks for coming back. That whole bit, and I can't remember. Man, I had that on the tip of my tongue and I screwed it up. Oh well. Anyways, I'll let Adam. I'll let Adam do his spiel then, instead of trying to imitate. Anyways, gold is a lot of fun. It's not just, it's not necessarily just, it's not a get rich quick thing. I mean, like I've got gold coinage, I've got gold nuggets that, it's all, I mean, like for me, it's all collectible, and it's not collectible to the point because it's valuable. I mean, it's for me, it's just neat. I've got a couple nuggets that I won in door prizes, and it's like, oh, those are pretty neat. So it's got lots of uses, and it's also a metal that is almost always a part of everyone's everyday life in some way, shape, or form. So it was nice to be able to talk about something that actually everybody, it doesn't even matter if you're a blacksmith or not, interacts with on a fairly regular basis, whether it's plating on earrings or a necklace or a wedding ring or whatever it is. Almost everybody interacts with gold every day. So I'm glad I got a chance to, just kind of hit on some of the high points of it. I mean, gosh, we didn't even get into the weeds. I mean, like sometimes I really get into the weeds on these metals, and this was just glazing the surface. So y'all have a great week. I'm going to, and at the end of the day, have fun with what you do, whether you want to or not. So y'all have a great week.
Or else. All right, go ahead, Adam.
So my intro goes, welcome back to Speargrass Forge. If you're new here, thanks for coming. If you're coming back, thanks for returning. That is my intro, so stick it in your nose. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. You can find Yamas on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find Alex at Transcendental Artist Studios on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can find me, Adam, at Speargrass Forge on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget, if you have any suggestions for Tool of the Week, Metal of the Week, or any other topic, you can leave it under the hashtag Metal of the Week in the YouTube community chat and Discord. And you can also email us at islandmetalforge@gmail.com. If you have found us on one of our now expanded podcast providers, that's Anchor, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and Google Podcasts, we upload every Wednesday, or you can join us live every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is currently 11:30 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time, but check against your local time to be more accurate. And you can find us live on that at Island Metal Forge YouTube channel. Finally, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we appreciate your support. Yamas, stick it in your nose. I can see you doing your whole friggin' waving your hands and stuff like that. My final thought, then, guys, get out there and do what you love, add value to your life, either that's by forging or by reading or whatever. I'd like to thank everyone that has been purchasing my copy of Practical Blacksmithing, Volume 1. I am currently halfway through editing Volume 2 at the moment. Hopefully get that out soon. So thank you very much for all your support, not only for the Sunday Morning Gathering and Impractical Blacksmith podcast, but also for your direct support for me.
Yes.
That's it. Yamas, you're up.
Thank you all for coming. Huge thank you to our guests, Trail Dust today, and huge thank you. I could not do this without them. For the co-hosts, Adam and Alex. You can listen back to what Adam just said and find us all on our respective places. Thank you big time to the chat. Huge thank you to those who do super chats. Always appreciated. Thank you very much, Ryan. And as always, and of course, thank you for the channel members. You guys are fantastic. And yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight for my 6 p.m. forging show, but hope you guys all tune in. I will be lighting the fires and hitting metal 6 p.m. tonight, Eastern. So with that, I think we're done here. Get out to your shop and do something, or else. Be safe, everybody. Love you all. Thank you. Good evening, good morning, and good night.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
And we're clear.